I am so excited to share this next video with you. It's a story by a dear friend of mine. Her name is Yolanda, and she is the youngest yet most resilient and determined person I have ever met in my life. And her life story is one that I think will inspire you and teach you how to transform what could be pain into resilience and strength. She was featured on a live stream show I host called Community Keynotes. And here is Yolanda's story.
My name is Yolanda Marissa Lamborena, and I just recently graduated from Cal State Fullerton, like they just said. But the thing is, my journey was just a little bit different. My experiences weren't the same as those who would have walked the stage with me. So when I was about 7 years old, I passed by this alley on my walk home from school, and I noticed a man with a small object in his left hand and a lighter in his right hand. And I didn't know what this alley man was doing lighting that small object, but to my child mind, it wasn't good. I didn't know what this alley man was doing lighting that small object, but that alley was only one house down from where I lived with my dad and my grandparents in Highland Park, California. Now, imagine how I felt when I found similar objects in my dad's jacket. I was scared and I was worried that my dad was going to just end up looking like that alley man. And I know that what those small objects are now, they were crack pipes. I would find those crack pipes and I would try to break them or hide them. So, because I just didn't want my dad to do them, and I was just trying to help and keep him from doing whatever that alley man was doing, which wasn't the best idea because he would become angry. And I didn't know how drugs worked back then. I didn't know they cost money. I didn't know that people who use them tend to have withdrawals or how it messes with their head. So the consequences didn't really dawn on me that I would be beaten for taking those pipes. I was just trying to help. And from the emotional abuse to my dad pushing me to the floor, face down with my arm being pulled from the opposite side behind me and his foot holding down my back. So one day my grandma told me how I had an uncle. He was my dad's older brother and unfortunately had his life taken away at age 18 after being shot in an alley next to his pregnant girlfriend. After losing his older brother in his teens, my dad went from being a smart, artistic child to what I saw in front of me. So that's when things started to click. I could have chosen to follow my dad's footsteps and fall into gangs, hardcore drugs, alcohol abuse, you name it. But I chose to do what I thought was right. There are always choices, and some are easier than others. But when you have to make those hard decisions, that determines your unknown future. It becomes a moment of definition. After that, at 11 years old, my grandma set out to find my mother and get us in touch, and she did. I was reunited with my mom at 11 years old. After years of thinking she didn't care or that she completely forgot about me, my undeniable twin of a mom was right there. I was finally getting to know my mom, and when she was finally able to leave her studio apartment with her 4 kids and boyfriend at the time, she invited me to move in with her. After sneaking enough clothes and planning to my mom's new place, I called my dad to let him know I wasn't coming back. At 13 years old, I was making a decision from fear and opportunity. I either stay with my abusive father in the area I was in, or I leave with the woman I've known for about 2 years and start over. I just wanted a fighting chance. So neither option was good for me, but I made a conscious decision to deal with that uncertainty and change, and I took it. The emotional toll this transition in my life took on me was just completely traumatizing. Imagine feeling like you betrayed someone you loved for 13 years just to leave with someone you just met again for 2. Even after all the emotional and physical abuse I endured, I never could hate my dad. I love him. It might not be the story most people know, but Charles Swindoll said it best. Life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. My reaction was not to mimic or blame my father for what happened to me, but to be better than that. I learned from his mistakes, and I didn't want to have to learn that lesson again if I already knew his outcome or the outcome. After all I had gone through, at this point in my life, it was just the start of another struggle. High school consisted of school, varsity softball 2 days a week, drill team 2 times a week, travel ball once a week, competitions on Saturdays, and tournaments on Sundays. So I was working every day, all while coming home to make sure that I helped cook, clean, and watch my brothers and sisters as my mom was working multiple jobs just to sustain the income to keep our Section 8 housing home and food on our table. I had the most responsibilities and the unwanted mom stress. And I was still dealing with my own high school problems, but I was just happy. I was genuinely happy just to have siblings and to finally go outside without having to keep track of my surroundings and or be scared in general. I was aware of the situation I was in and I knew I had to work hard to get into college. So I looked into getting a job right after high school. And I took things day by day just to get into Cal State Fullerton. But I did it. And my family didn't pay for any of my school, not my car, not my insurance, not even my phone bill. Starbucks was a great first job to help me pay for the bills, but I had to get a full-time job to sustain that pay. And so I quit and I ended up getting a job at Toyota, full-time, working 30 to 40 plus hours, as well as taking full-time classes because I wanted to finish getting my degree. I didn't realize that I sacrificed going out with friends and living that normal teenage life because I thought I owed my mom and my siblings that extra help. So my schedule was ridiculous. I went to classes, then straight to work, and had to finish my homework during my lunch or right after my shift. It felt like there were no breaks in my life and I couldn't even breathe. So at one point, I had to work Memorial Day weekend, and I stayed from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. the next day. That upcoming Tuesday, I had an important midterm, and unfortunately, I walked into that class with little sleep and no knowledge of what was going to be on that test. Knowing I failed so bad, I gave my test to the professor and I asked really quietly, is there a chance of me passing? Because if I didn't pass this class, I could not graduate and I'd have to retake it and stay another semester. So she went over how I can make up for failing by getting at least a B or higher on the rest of my tests or projects. So that little bit of hope was all I needed. I just needed that little bit of hope of succeeding after my huge failure. And it's all I needed. I walked out overthinking and crying because I just failed. And it's that unknown part of, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this, that got me in tears. But I was on my way to work, so I had to wipe away those tears and act like nothing was wrong. I didn't think much of how crazy my life was as a teenager until one psychology class at Cal State Fullerton. I answered a question and I used Section 8 housing as an example. And to my surprise, nobody in that class knew what that was. So I had to explain it, and I got judgmental stares. I started to feel like I should feel embarrassed or sad for a second. But then I realized these stares were coming from the same people who just admitted that their parents were paying for their full tuition or they just were gifted a brand new car at high school graduation. I made it to the same spot they were in without any of that help. And so I felt empowered. All my life, the cards have not been dealt in my favor. I've had every reason to take the easy choice and just follow everyone else who deals with adversity or abuse, get hooked on drugs, live on the streets, find the easy way to make a quick buck, or even commit suicide. My hope for you is to realize that not everything is going to be set up for you to accomplish. If anything, life sets you up for failure. But know what you have and learn from others. Figure out your own path to success. Your story can be different in a good way. Just remember your worth and never give up. Because if it was easy, everybody would be successful. Thank you.
So now that you have heard from Yolanda, I'm curious, what's your reaction? What was it about her life that caused her to build her resilience and strength and determination?